that we have this tendency of looking at chaos and disorder from negative lens. Uh, However, it is from chaos and disorder that sometime, not sometime, actually very often, new developments take place. So this is precisely what was happening, in Indian territory, across Indian territories. So there was a realignment and a reconfiguration, and it is in the course of this realignment and reconfiguration that new places were coming into prominence, and Delhi can also be located in such manner, where it was from being unknown and from being the least known place, it was gradually coming into limelight. And I mean, you have a great deal of sources which point towards the intense level of habitation, settlement, even though it has not been very regular. And you also get to know about the political scenario. Hmm. So for early medieval period, I had told you that from different sources. Hmm. So some of the sources are of archaeological nature because they were found as a result of excavations. So in that, you will all kindly refer to inscriptions, which I had told you about in my last class. So these are not inscriptions of a very uh, descriptive nature. Hmm. It's not that you have a good number of pieces, you good number of pieces of informations, but they are still very important. Because you get to know about activity which was very important in Delhi's region, and you also get to know about political status, although in a very passing reference. There is no serious engagement with the political information as far as these inscriptions and their information is concerned. So, what are those inscriptions and where were they found and what is their timeline? So, mostly these inscriptions date from the 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, especially from the 13th and 14th century. So I had told you that there is a village somewhere in the southwest of Delhi, uh, Palam village. So from Palam, there was a Palam Bauli inscription. So that is very important, and Sonipat inscription is also very important. Mm. And then there is another inscription which was found very close to Narayana. Narayana is a place again, uh, it is east of Najafgarh, eastern border of the Najafgarh. However, it is a part of the West Delhi. So you can say that it is the east of West Delhi. All right. Just give me some time. I will come back. Yeah, you all remain there. Are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the interruption. I have to go for a loop. So, what I wanted to tell you that so this is how we get to know about Delhi, early medieval Delhi, from across several places. We have located a few inscriptions, and from those inscriptions, we get to know about Delhi. Okay, now other than this inscription, because they are definitely talking about a place called Haryana. Hmm. So most of these inscriptions they are referring to place called Haryana, and they say that Haryana was perhaps ruled by uh, Tomras and Chauhans. Hmm. So there is a very vague reference. I mean, one cannot be very certain. So I have always been telling you that for most part of Delhi's early medieval history, things are not very clear. So things are very vague. So again, they are talking about these places. So and the people in a very vague manner. So because it's not that they are giving you thick description, so it is a very passing reference. However, they are referring to a place called Haryana, and they are also referring to the fact that Delhi, I mean there is a different spelling of it. It might have been part of Haryana, and Haryana was ruled by Tomras and Chauhans, and these Tomars and Chauhans had their influence over large territories. So there is a reference to Haryana. So if you look at today's Delhi, Haryana is definitely its neighboring parts. And I had told you that Delhi has not assumed its boundary. So Haryana, Rajasthan, and and Uttar Pradesh. These are the places which are on the border of Delhi. So from all this information, at least we get to know that Delhi we are talking about, and Delhi we are getting to know from these sources is Delhi actually, which is the same Delhi. And how do we get to know? We get to know because they are all referring to place called Haryana, and Haryana can be associated with this very Haryana. So later on, we will talk about where the word Haryana is coming from. Again, there is not a very conclusive information as to where the name is coming from. But as far as some of the writings and some of the sources have tried to explain where the term Haryana is coming from. So they tend to say that Haryana actually originates from the word Hari, Haryanaka. So it has perhaps got to do with the green patches, and green patches can be linked up with the agricultural tract and the forest. So these are the two major areas which can be incorporated while we are trying to understand the very meaning of Haryanaka. So it has got a lot to do with the greenery. It has got a lot to do with the forest. It has got a lot to do with the agriculture. So so Haryana has been since time immemorial known for its agricultural activities even to this date. So Delhi likewise was also considered a place where agricultural activities might have happened. Hmm. So when we refer to Anangpal Fort, hmm, later on, I mean, when you move from the descriptions which you get from these inscriptions, we move straight to the archaeological remains, and this is Anangpal Fort. Because in most of this description, be it iron pillar, or be it Amir Khusro's reference, or be it several other written and archaeological sources, we get to know a lot about these two names, Anangpal 1, Anangpal 2. Is it clear? So far, so good.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
so Anangpal is one name which is oft cited name, especially for the early medieval. So whenever you talk of early medieval, I mean, bear in mind that you must actually refer to these names, because in the light of these two names, you can talk a lot about Delhi. So because they provide base of information on the basis of which you can talk about Delhi. Ki, okay, Anangpal must have been a person who perhaps belonged to Tomar dynasty, and Tomars were the rulers who ruled over large tract of land. Their center might not have been Delhi. I mean, again, that is I mean, one there are very few sources which attest to this fact, but this is at least clear that they were here. Either their base was Haryana, or or Delhi, or somewhere between these two places. But pinpointing is very difficult. You cannot exactly pinpoint ki this is where actually they were based in, because the sources are not very clear enough. Anyway, so as far as the Alangpal name is concerned, there is Anangpur in Delhi. So how do we actually find the links? We try to find the link that even to this date, there is a place called Anangpur, very close to Mahipalpur. And other than the place named after Anangpal, which is Anangpur, there is a Anang Tal. There is a water body, water reservoir, and it's called Anang, Anang Tal. So that is again there, which is named after Anangpal. And then you have a Anangpal fort. Hmm. And Lal Kot, when you are referring to reading material, you will also come across Lal Kot fort. That is said to have been built by Anangpal II. So there is, uh, you know, uh, extensive engagement with the description of Anangpal fort. Hmm. Uh, from the team of archaeologists and from the team of historians who rely upon archaeological remains and several other textuals and oral traditions, testimonies, they have been able to comment upon this Anangpal and Anangpal related phenomenon which characterized early medieval Delhi. So now you have a picture in front of you which can be associated with Delhi. And what is this picture about? That it is not, we are not talking about Delhi in a very, basic terms. We are now getting some sense of, you know, uh, political economy. We are getting some sense of the politics, some sense of, political development. That means these are the names which are actually very well connected with the ruling, which are very much connected with the empire, hmm. Empire in regional sense. Because they are trying to carve out their territories, and they are very much concerned about the safety and security of their carved out territories. How do we get to know whether they are concerned? Because we have Anangpal Fort. So as soon as you come to know about this citadel, fort-like structure. So fort, what are these forts for? What are the purposes which the forts serve? So forts are usually not residential places. We must always bear in mind forts must be distinguished from the normal dwelling, because they are very monumental. Hmm. And they are very extensive, and there is a particular thought which has been put into uh, behind the fort, a very behind idea of the fort. So what is this thought about? They are usually made in place which secures greater degree of protection, and where from one can sustain a greater degree of surveillance, not only for area which are within the fort, but also person who can actually occupy a place from the fort, and they can actually have a commanding view of place which lies far off. Why? Because by getting this advantage, they can actually monitor about the movement of people from outside. So this Anangpal fort, and later on you will come to know about several other forts which came to become part of Delhi's region. So like Kila Rai Pithora, which is said to have been built by Prithviraj. So that is another fort-like structure. So it has a ramparts. So, archaeologists, they have actually tried to measure and evaluate all these archaeological remains from all angles. So they have tried to measure the length, they have tried to understand its architectural, structure. How is this architectural structure different from the normal structure? So that actually is pointing to the fact that Delhi is now having monumental structure, which establishes the fact that Delhi is now becoming very active from political point of view, where a ruling class people are settling down, and they are trying to transform this place into a political space. And how do we get to know? We get to know about various developments. So these people are actually trying to leave major political trail, major political trail, whereby they can actually sustain their existence against possible, incursion, possible invasions from outside these territories. So, be it Kila Rai Pethora, or be it Lal Kot, Anangpal Fort, and then several other forts actually came in the course of the time. So the very existence of forts. So as soon as you are talking about the political development within the Delhi region, you must rope in this fort phenomenon. Fort phenomenon, because as soon as you dwell upon the development of forts, that indicates that Delhi is becoming very important from political point of view. Safety and securities have become concern. So going deeper into how these forts were, so if you simply go by the Anangpal fort, so it is said that, I mean, if you go by the information which has been provided to us by the archaeologists and the historians, the wall actually, the total length of the wall is around 300 meter. So 300 meter, and then the way you have a forts in Rajasthan, so they bear a resemblance. They bear resemblance to the forts in Rajasthan, uh, especially when you are looking at the bastions. You have the circular bastions which occur at a regular interval alongside wall. So suppose you have fort which has ramparts, which has the wall. So uh, at certain interval, you have a structure which is bulging out from that wall, and it is a different from the wall structure, and that is what was supposed to be the watchtower. Watchtower. And that is where people would actually try to get the commanding view of all the places, and that is where they will actually mount attack upon their enemies also. So are you all able to get me? आप लोग को समझ में आ रहा है?
Sir, could you please repeat about the mounting tower?
हाँ, ये वॉचिंग टावर है, बेसिकली वॉच टावर है, बिकॉज दिस बास्टियन लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, I mean, if you go alongside wall of this fort at a regular interval, you will see a bulging part, which is actually coming, protruding outside wall, है ना, थोड़ा सा प्रोट्रूसिव रियलिटी है, स्ट्रक्चरल रियलिटी है. And what is this bulging part? These are considered actually bastion, and these are of semicircular nature. And on the top of that, you have a a canopy, canopy like structure, or on the top of the that bastion, on the top of that wall, uh, there is a perforated portion where from they can actually see through. मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि जो दीवार है, जो बास्टियन लाइक स्ट्रक्चर है एक रेगुलर इंटरवल पे, वो आपको देखेंगे ना, थोड़ा सा उभरा हुआ हिस्सा होता है और वो काफी मोटा होता है। और वो वहां पे उसके सबसे ऊपरी हिस्से पे एक छतरी नुमा बना रहता है। और इन केस छतरी नुमा नहीं है, क्योंकि दिल्ली की केस में ऐसा नहीं मिलता है। दिल्ली की केस में यू हैव अ वेरी सिंपल, यू हैव अ बल्जिंग पार्ट which is larger than normal wall, and then on the top of it you have place where from a person can actually sit and they can get commanding view. So that particular point which will be part of the overall wall will serve different purposes, especially the surveillance, and also taking care of the fort and the people in against the enemies. Is it clear? And since there is a great degree of resemblance between this fort-like structure, between these and the structures which used to be very common in Rajasthan, people say that whoever ruled Rajasthan must have also commanded his power over Delhi, because the cultural impact can very much be noticed in Delhi as well. So this fort culture, is it clear? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think if you all want to take a short break, you can take a short break. We want to take short break. Can come after 10-15 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So let us meet after 15 minutes. Yeah. So around 10:20, and then we'll resume.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.